Celebrity, true or false?
You can't handle the truth.
All right, here's your first question, Bruce Dern. Your first question. You were part of the Actors Studio in New York City when Marilyn Monroe was there in the late 50s. Is that true or false?
True.
What was that like?
Late 50s and early 60 and 61, yeah.
Who was there? What was that like?
61.
What was that like?
Well, first of all, she was there to observe because her private teacher was Lee Strasberg.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted her to come to the studio to see the kind of acting work that we were all working on to help her with hers, rather than to make her get up and perform in front of us, because in the Actors Studio, after you do your little 10-minute scene, whatever it is, everybody in the class gets to raise their hand and say what kind of work they just saw from that actor or actress. And then Mr. Strasberg sums it up. And he did not want to put her through that. So that's why she was there.
Is that right? Okay. And who else was there with you?
I mean, there were a bunch of Italian guys that were all in a movie called Hatful of Rain.
Okay.
And it was Tony Franciosa, it was Ben Gazzara, it was Harry Gardino.
Sure.
And it was a huge hit on Broadway, and then they made it as a movie. And all those guys became instant movie stars. And then they did a play off Broadway, and the play was called End as a Man. And this is in the mid-50s. And I didn't come in until 58. And so I wasn't there. But that was the other play that sent, and they didn't have to do a lot. I mean, Paul Newman, my first play second play on Broadway was with Paul Newman and Geraldine Page. It was called Sweet Bird of Youth. It was a Tennessee Williams play.
Wow.
And I began my career under contract to Mr. Kazan. And he had 5 of us. He had Rip Torn, Pat Hingle, Geraldine Page, Brucey from Winnetka, and Lee Remick. And those were the 5 that were under contract. So I was very lucky that I got to start there. And the big thing about us is when I came to Hollywood after 3.5 years in New York on Broadway and driving a friggin' cab and everything, I came out here, and my generation got the chance to still work with the legends. Nowadays, they give us awards. I mean, Clint gets them, Jack gets them, I get them, Redford, whoever they are, get legendary awards and all this kind of promotion. We're not legends. You can't be a legend. Everybody knows what the hell we do after school. So how the hell can you be private or anything like that? But these people were private, which enabled them to be bigger than life.
Bruce Dern, or Brucey
and
from...
when I went to kill John Wayne in the Cowboys, he'd never been killed in a movie, they were putting bullet hits on him. You know what bullet hits are, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that was my next question for you, Brucey from Winnetka, as you refer to yourself. True or false, that you received death threats after you shot John Wayne's character in the back in the Cowboys? So that's a true story? That you got death threats?
To this last weekend.
Come on!
And we made that movie in 71, so you're talking 50 years ago. He said to me while they were putting these bullet hits on him, "Oh, how they're gonna hate you for this." And I said, maybe. But in Berkeley, I'm a friggin' hero. And he laughed. He put his arm on my shoulder, and he said, "That's why this is in my movie. Because he understands that bad guys were funny. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about them 150 years later."
So you, Bruce Dern, just recently got a death threat because you killed John Wayne's character in a movie 50 years ago. That just happened. That's true.
Yeah, to my face.
What?
I did a collectible show.
Yeah.
And a guy came up to me who was maybe, a memorabilia card collector guy, and he said, back in the 70s, you killed my buddy. And I said, really? Who was that? He said, John. I said, hey, bud, he died of cancer. Get over it. It was a movie. And he said, no, you killed my buddy, and if I had seen you in person then, I'd have ripped you a new one. Well, you wouldn't have been the first.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was, and he was good. You know the great thing, Rich, about those people?
What is it, Bruce?
They always were fabulous to my generation of young actors, particularly, because they saw us doing stuff they could never get to in their careers because they were in the contract system. They were under contract to studios, and the studios always wanted to play themselves again and again and again, which made movie stars. And they were bigger in life. And every one of them that ever helped me, you go back and you look at certain movies that they were in, and they say, well, but John Wayne was John Wayne. No. Go back and look at The Quiet Man. Go back and look at True Grit.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, look at the things that every one of them the same way. And they were very helpful to us for two reasons. One is they weren't able to do what they saw we could do. And second of all, they encouraged us to go to the edge of the bluff and take risks.
Bruce Dern here, Celebrity True or False. Next one, the film Black Sunday was filmed during the actual Super Bowl X matchup between the Steelers and Cowboys in the Orange Bowl. Is that true or false?
True.
Were you there that day? Were you there that day as well? Did you get to meet Chuck Noll and Lynn Swann?
I wasn't there the day.
Right.
Because what they did on the day was they hired the 7 best cameramen in the world. Mm-hmm. And each one had an assignment. Cover Staubach, cover the crowd, cover the cheerleaders, cover the announcers. Some are all in,
Brookshire.
Tom Brookshire.
Right.
And so each one had, so they put that all together. Now, we went back there 2 weeks later.
The Orange Bowl. Yeah.
To do the ending of the movie. Because what happened was, when the movie ended, it ended exactly like the cover of the book. Mm-hmm. When Robert Shaw is on his way in the helicopter to pull me and Marta Keller out of the sky with the blimp, mm-hmm. On the way, as we approach the sky, if you remember the cover of the book, the picture is a shadow comes over the stadium, and it's a sunny day. And the shadow comes over the stadium, and all the people look to see the shadow, and it's the blimp starting to crush the light standards above the stadium. And that's the end. And it said, Black Sunday, think about it. Paramount went nuts when they saw it. And they said, you can't end the movie like that. The Jewish guy's got to win. He's got to win. Because Charles Bluedorn was the head of Paramount at the time, and they didn't think it was appropriate. So he had to go back and shoot a Shaw coming and dragging it out over the ocean so all the darts went into the ocean. But I'll tell you something, Rich. It's the only movie that I've ever made that I would never make again.
Right. Right.
And the reason being, someone could do that.